Hi and welcome to Live Chat with Linda. My name is Linda Kvist and my guest today is Jason Blohm, who was a participant in Allt för Sverige. Welcome, Jason. How are you doing?
Hi, thank you for having me, Linda, and excited to be here with you today. Thank you.
So it's so great to have you here. And I want to say hello to the people that are joining us. We have Anders från Lund and Marita från Vinköl, Irene från Helsingborg, Anders från Stockholm, Maria från Stockholm, Torgny från Hylje, Anna från Osby, Pamela från Helsingborg, Niklas från Helsingborg, and Ove från Umeå, and Ragnar från Ovesholm. So all over Sweden. So nice to have you here.
Welcome and hey.
Hey. Yeah. So I will start to ask my guests, where are you at and where did your ancestors come from? So where are you at, Jason?
Well, my family originates in Skåne, and we kind of go back all the way to the 1600s, and we can trace in the Skåne Österlen region. One of the highlights on the show was my great grandmother Boel, who moved eventually to the big city of Ystad, and previously, we traced her outside to some small villages or farmland outside of Ystad. And so today, my family lives throughout Sweden. The majority are probably in Skåne, but we have family up in Stockholm area, Göteborg, and throughout other areas throughout Sweden. So I've been very fortunate to meet most of my family in Sweden. There's still quite a few that I still haven't met as of yet. And I've been going back to Sweden every year since the show, with the exception of this year, unfortunately, due to the COVID-19 situation, which I'm really sad about. I didn't realize how much Sweden means to me until I'm restricted and not able to go.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't imagine that, the situation would have happened at all this year. And it's heart-wrenching because it's become a tradition for me to meet up with the family down in Skåne for midsummer every year. So this is my first midsummer since being on the show here in Los Angeles, and I ended up doing with my family. It was so amazing. Is we had a virtual Zoom midsummer this year. So we had some relatives from Australia, and Finland, and Denmark, and United States and Sweden participate. So it was a lot of fun. Everybody kind of like was very festive. Had their flower crowns on, and unexpectedly, I had a cousin that was moving from Colorado to Hawaii to live, to get ready for her marriage with her fiance, who lives in Hawaii, and she got grounded here in Los Angeles because she had her dog with her, and then they changed the requirements. And as far as what was needed to fly on the plane. So we were together and we got to bond for 4 days here, 4 or 5 days here in Los Angeles, while she had to get some paperwork together for her dog. And we got to celebrate our first midsummer together, which was really fantastic. And what was really interesting is that she is a performer. She's an aerial acrobat and a fire performer, where you sing around the fire and dance. Yeah. And she also goes on the beautiful silk cloth and then does acrobats. And she actually has been performing in Colorado at their midsummer that they've been having, that they do out there. So they invited her to again this year to perform for midsummer. And then of course she had her wedding, so she wasn't able to go. And then on top of it all, this year the COVID-19, so the midsummer didn't take place in Colorado, and which is across the U.S. I think that had happened, and I think What a lot of Swedes may not know in Sweden is how passionate Swedish Americans are about their culture, and to preserve it here in the U.S. and pass it on to their future generations. So I'm fortunate enough to belong to an organization, a fraternal organization here in Los Angeles, where we help to keep that alive. We have a summer school that we put on. Excuse me, not summer school, a summer camping group that we put on, and it's open to everybody. You don't have to be Swedish to be a part of it. Anybody that's interested in learning about Sweden and Scandinavian and Nordic culture. And it's summer camp. I'm sorry, I can't think of the word, summer camp. And of course, that was canceled this year. But not only do we put on a summer camp, they do a midsummer here. We do a host marknad, and we also participate, a lot of the people in my organization, in the local Svea Yule board,
Okay.
marknad that they have out here. And so that it's really fun, a really good, great group of people. And I actually joined before when I was trying out for the show, I had found this group. And so I had joined the group and been part of it and met so many wonderful, wonderful people. So the desire here in the U.S. for Swedish Americans to find their family is very great here. And I hope everybody in Sweden knows the American Swedes are looking for you just as much as you're looking for us over here. So don't give up hope. And I think with today's genealogy websites that we have, like Ancestry and some others, it's so much easier to help you find your family abroad. And if you don't speak Swedish, you can still find ways to do so. And there's a lot of great American genealogists and as well as in Sweden that could help you with that process.
Yeah.
So I love the new traditions that I found and in Sweden, and I'm sharing it with my family, whether they like it or not. So I'm sure they get a little crazy with cousin Jason. Always, hey, it's Canal Boulard Day, and stuff like that. And some of them are right along with me, and they enjoy it. And there's others that they identify more as American, and they really they're not interested, or it hasn't really come across to really think about their roots and their heritage. So, and I think a lot of that has to do with primarily maybe your age, or if you have a family member that's really into your heritage and they pass it along to you, then it really instills it in you, and then you want to share that too as you learn more about your family and your history.
Yeah. I was going to ask you if you joined this Svea group before you went to Sweden or after, but you joined them right before you came to Sweden. So
yeah, well, the name of the group that I belong to is called Vasa Order of America.
Okay.
And our particular district that we have out here, and there's lodges throughout United States, and I believe some up in Canada as well, and also in Sweden. So anybody in Sweden that's interested in connecting with it, you can Google it online, and you can find your local Vasa Order chapter. So and it's a really wonderful group of people that are passionate about preserving, your heritage and looking and sharing it with others. So it's a wonderful organization, and it's open to anyone who is interested in participating. So you don't have to have a Swedish heritage in order to join. Just a curiosity and an interest. So it's really fantastic.
Yeah. So I just have to show a picture from the group that came to Sweden with you, so we all remember what season it was. Here you are.
What a fun, wonderful group of people. I have to say, I love each and every one. We're so different in so many ways, and we were joking on the show. It's sort of like we were like a military group, stuck in the trenches together, and then nobody's from the same walk of life, but yet at the end we have bonded and we become our own little family. So it's amazing, and it was such a wonderful experience, and it was so overwhelming. I can say for me when I was on the show, and I felt I wanted to be a sponge and just all in. And I probably behind the scenes drove a lot of people crazy because I had so many questions. Oh, where are we at? What's this? What's that? And it was great because I took it all in, and it really helped me, and it solidified and gave me a fantastic sense of knowing who I am and where I come from.
Yeah.
And then when you get to meet your family, wow! I mean, come on, that's the best part of that whole experience. I didn't win the show. Oops, spoiler alert. What's fantastic about the show is after the show airs, they share your heritage with you, and it's up to you to do with it what you want. And what I've always wondered is how come I'm a brown-eyed Swede,
Yeah.
And now I know why. Is I have family in southern Sweden that is also like a dirty blonde, light brown hair, and brown eyes. So, and some of the similarities uh, facially and everything is just amazing. I look, some of my cousins, we look, you can tell, you would even think we're siblings. So
Yeah.
it's quite amazing. Although
Yeah.
I'm very short, I did. I thought I would be, you can't judge somebody by their picture or on a photo, and you with the height until you actually meet them. And I was like, wow, I'm pretty much looking up at everybody, all my family members, and I'm 5'7", so that was pretty interesting. But I have some cousins that are relatively my height as well. But I found that part very interesting.
It is. So I used to have all the episodes on a disc, but then we had a thunderstorm that destroyed the box, so all the episodes are gone. But how did it feel when you got the call and you heard Andrew say, "Jason, you are one of the 10"?
Well, if you've seen the show that I cried, it's very overwhelming. And you don't really know that you're on the show until the very last moment, basically, before they say, here's your plane ticket, you're leaving on this date and this. So they really keep you on the edge. And I think it's now that I look back at it, I think, it's very smart. Because they want to build up your anticipation. They want to show your excitement and your true feelings and capture it when they tell you. And it was overwhelming. It was fantastic. And I started off wanting to go on the show originally, for my uncle who had passed, during the process when I was applying for the show, and for my mom who had passed at that point 14 years ago. And I was doing it for everybody else, but it ended up being for me. So it was a really fantastic journey.
Yeah, and you came into the harbor of Gothenburg on this really old wooden sailing ship,
Yes.
right?
Oh my gosh. And I don't think what most people really know is we were really busting our butts, and we were hoisting and taking directions, and I even had some blisters that I got from holding the rope. It was so exhilarating. It was amazing. And it was actually one of my hopes is that, because they had asked us, if you were to, when you come to Sweden, how would you like to, how would you like to arrive? And that was one of the things that I said it would be amazing to sail into Sweden. And we actually got to do that. And we were literally sailing on the boat, and it was fantastic. Some of us doing a little more work than others, but I won't tell. No, but it was a lot of fun, and it was an immediate bonding for us as a cast, and that was our first time where we were just together and working together and getting to know each other, and it was really fantastic. And I can't tell you how emotional it is when you first touch ground in Sweden, when you've never been there before. And I think for all of us on the cast, and probably all the seasons, it was just overwhelming and full of joy, and very emotional and very personal. very personal for each one of us in our own way.
Yeah. So we have some more people that says hello. We have Anna Dean.
Hi,
she
Anna.
said,
I know Anna. Hi, Anna.
yeah,
How are
yeah,
you? Anna's amazing. She does all of the family trees for all of us that they
yes,
give us on the show.
yeah.
And her artwork is just beautiful and fantastic. And I treasure it so much, Anna. Thank you. Thank you.
So, and we also got a message from Vasa, who apparently is a DNA cousin with you.
Really? Hi, Asa. Wow. Osa, hi. Wow, fantastic. You have to message me. Because I've done DNA testing and I found some relatives. I have a cousin, Joran, and I think he's here somewhere, I hope. And he only speaks Swedish, so we've been communicating back and forth through translation. And my little bit of Swedish that I know, which isn't very much.
Yeah, was that perhaps Göran from Linköping?
There he is. That's Joran. Hey, Kusen.
So, and we got a question also. It's Ove who asked, "What did you dislike about Sweden? Was there anything you didn't like?"
Oh wow. Okay. That's a tough question. Because each time that I've gone to Sweden so far, it's to see family and friends and relax. And I guess the only thing I hate about Sweden at this point is the jet lag I experience when I come back to Los Angeles. So I'm sure I'm sure there may be things that I may not like in Sweden, but I think what it is it's hard to really say there's something that you don't like. It's just cultural differences and understanding. And I think when you are learning about your heritage, you have to have an open mind.
Yeah.
And you have to really absorb and then ponder. Why do the Swedes do things this way and we do this way in America? Because I am American. No matter how much I want to say, oh, I'm Swedish and Nordic and all that, I'm still American because I have the American experience. Exactly. And I guess I don't have that Swedish immersion experience, and that would only happen, I think, if to immigrate there or to reside there, have a residency there. Then you can probably look at it a little more and then have a better understanding of things that you don't like and things that may not you feel that don't work. But that's a good question, and I honestly I can't really say anything at this point because I am so homesick for Sweden right now. I can't say anything bad at all. I miss being there.
So we got another question as well. When your ancestors came to the US, where did they live and what did they work with? And did they save any memories or documents from Sweden?
Wow. Okay. This is a very good question. Since I'm fourth generation, I believe, I think I'm fourth or fifth generation here in the US, fourth, I believe. We were my immediate family. My grandparents were disconnected from my family in where we originally immigrated to. So I guess I have to digress a little bit. If you've seen the show, you know that my family came over to America and changed their name to from their family last name to Ekenstam, which is a name of nobility. And so right away, I think my forefather, who immigrated here to the U.S., had an immediate sense of prestige here in the American Swedish community. But what they didn't really share on the show is that my family member had converted to Mormonism, and that's how they got passage to America. So there was a large, there's a large number of Swedes and Scandinavians and Northern Europeans that had converted to Mormonism in order to get passage to America and to come abroad. And so I believe what happened is that they sponsored them, paid for their transportation, and as soon as they arrived in Ellis Island, they would there was somebody there waiting for them at the train and brought them over to Utah. And that's where my family heritage starts off here in in the United States. And they lived in a Swedish community in Utah. And then eventually, as they immersed within the American Mormon community, they would spread out through Utah and the rest of the United States. So as far as documents and everything, I'm very fortunate because the Mormon church keeps really good ancestral documents. In fact, a lot of Americans, it doesn't matter which where you come from or what your nationality is, the Mormons will document and archive all of the history that they can find on anybody who, especially who is in the Mormon church, but they also branch out outside. And I believe Ancestry might have some ownership through the Mormon church, and they're sharing it, and they've really built an incredible database for everybody to see. So, long story short, my grandparents left the Mormon church, so we were sort of, I guess, semi or somewhat ostracized. So we only knew a small portion of our family once they left the Mormon church. And that's where the disconnect of not knowing my Swedish heritage and who they are is due to that. But I've reconnected. I found a lot of family here in the U.S. And I have some relatives here that are into genealogy as well, and that have helped find more family. My cousin Carmine, Morgan, she has done a lot of research on her own, and she was actually contacted by Allt för Sverige when they were doing research on their end in Sweden, when they were trying to find some American documents. And unfortunately, we didn't have any documentation of our family in Sweden. We didn't have any pictures. We didn't have any of that passed on. So all that they really had on the show was the poorhouse where my great grandmother ended up residing and until she passed away in her late 80s. And so that particular hospital, or that poorhouse, is now a children's hospital in Ystad. And it was a place they took me on the show. And then when I go back to Sweden each year, my cousins and I have this new pilgrimage in Ystad where we go from Sankta Maria, which is in the town square in Ystad, and we walk, stop and get ice cream. We get glass, and we go and we look at where Boel had last resided, which was the poorhouse there in Ystad. So it's sort of a kind of an emotional thing, and it kind of really ties us all together. And what was interesting on the show is when we had ventured to Ystad and it was my special day, I knew all the way along the way, I kept seeing these beautiful poppies everywhere in the fields and along the fields, and we're driving, and I asked the driver, I'm like, gosh, what are these flowers? They're so amazing. But they look like poppies. Like, yeah, they are poppies. I'm like, oh my gosh, because here in California, our state flower is the poppy.
Okay.
So, and it's an orange. It's an orange in color. So I've always loved them as a kid, and I always was, growing them in our garden and around the house. And that was just something that kind of like, it was so weird seeing these poppies, and I felt something special when we ended up in the square before Sankta Maria, and it was just this amazing feeling. And then to be told, this is where your family comes from, this is where we trace them, and they lived here and everything, and it was just so weird. It's like, how do you kind of sense that? Is that like a tuition or something? I just felt it, and I was so excited. But as far as documents in Sweden, it's more like finding the family there, and they're sharing their family photos and everything. Those are the documents that I'm aware of and that I know now, and that are very important to me. And along with all the photos that I've taken, those are, I've shared them with family and friends and post them online. So and we have a family group chat and a family page where we share photos and documents on there. So we're keeping that alive for future generations. And it's a wonderful question that he had. And so I think preserving and sharing and passing on your documents to future generations is one of the most wonderful gifts that you can give to future generations.
Yeah, and I think that's why we love to doing genealogy and family history research as well, to remember the people, because if we don't do that, then just a couple of generations, they will have been forgotten. But we like keep their memories alive.
Yeah, I think that's it's wonderful. And for me and my family situation, we've lost a lot of family photos. And what's fantastic now is the age of, we're in the digital age, so you don't have to worry about photos being lost to a fire or anything else. You have other formats that you can share, and also on social media. Basically, once you post a photo, it's going to be there forever. So it's sort of a way. And one of the interesting things is my cousin Morgan, my cousin Agneta in Sweden. They save documents into the genealogy websites, so it's saving it then and there for future generations. So that's I really appreciate that. And the key thing is when you have active family members that are interested in genealogy and preserving it for the future generations, they are really the keepers of your family history, and they're the ones perpetuating it and saving it on an onward and forward basis. And I think it's really important when you live in a country like America, where we are a hodgepodge of ethnic groups and people mix and have different ethnicities. And it's so wonderful to have and know a little bit of each about your heritage. And it's a wonderful puzzle when you put it together, and it really makes you so unique, and you can identify the different heritage. I'm actually Norwegian as well, so I haven't explored my Norwegian side, and that's interesting because I don't know if the Norwegian side has been intermingled blood here in America, maybe, or if I have a straight line somewhere back to Norway. So that's a whole nother show or whatever.
Yeah, I think they have this old Allt for Norway as well. So I think the show came from Norway first. They got the idea, so we copied it from them. So
So you never know. I might be on there someday. Who
yeah,
knows?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because yeah, you also said that you were missing your heritage and culture before the show. And how do you feel about that today?
Well, I've been called a super Swede a few times here and there by people in Sweden and here in the U.S. And and it's great. I own that because I have a curiosity. I have the want to know about it, and it's really kind of filled a few holes that I feel like I've had. Like who am I, and what is our family about? Why, um, how I have strong women in my family, and after going to Sweden and seeing how the Swedes are, and knowing the history of my foremothers, it's quite interesting because they were basically equal in a lot of ways in providing for the family and keeping the strength, and persevering and such. And so it really taught me a lot, and it actually taught me a lot about my mother as well. So I know where she got her inner strength from.
Yeah. So last week I had two ladies here. It was Lena and Hjördis, and they have a question for you. And I think I'm going to play it for you now. So we will see what you have for answer to their question.
Ska jag läsa, Hjördis?
Ja, gör du det.
Vilken släktings öde har berört dig mest?
So, and for people that don't know Swedish, it is what relative's life story has touched you the most?
Well, I am gonna have to go with the the matriarch, I guess, of our family in Sweden, which was Boel, and to see the difficulties she went through, being a single mother and then having children in wedlock and then out of wedlock, and how she was there for her whole family. There's a story in there where one of her children had, I believe, stolen some bread, and then out of hunger and out of, they were very poor, and they were basically working on the farms. And so his punishment was for his mother to give him lashes in the square.
Yeah.
And the sad part about that is it probably took place right in front of Sancta Maria in Ystad. And because I believe that's probably the area where they would bring people together for things like that. And so here is the birthplace where she was christened and had all of her children christened, and all the family records are within that church. And then yet she is punishing her son for something that he was doing for the family to bring the bread home. Look, Mom, I got some bread or something. But he stole the bread. But it's so sad to see that it was an unforgiven kind of punishment, instead of like, okay, you need the bread, why don't you do some work to earn the bread, as opposed to punishing him in the court. I kind of felt like it could have been dealt differently, but then again, those were the times. And so it really touched me to show that life was hard in those days. Life was tough. You didn't know where your food would your next meal would come from, and she's trying to support her family and her children, and to see something like that, it broke my heart. It really did. And because I could never imagine a parent having to do that to their child. I think that the parent would rather take that themselves than to have to lash their own child. So that was one of the things that kind of like really touched me in many ways, and just really makes you appreciate what we have in the modern day, and where there are organizations and things out there that can help families that are poor and may not have the means to feed themselves. So, and it's really hard to fathom, because we have all that nowadays. To look back and see something tragic like that happen to your own family is, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is. I was talking about food. How do you like the Swedish food? What is your favorite?
Well, as you can tell, I love to eat. I used to cook a lot. At one time, I wanted to have my own restaurant, and my grandmother on my who had on my father's side had owned a restaurant before, and my mom cooks, and I found out a lot of my family in Sweden, they love to cook, and I have family members here in the US that love to cook. So that has always been something I think that we've all, my family would connect with. However, Americans' appetites is a little different than the European appetite, and in Sweden. And I didn't grow up eating a lot of fish as a child, but there was something strangely familiar with everything when I tasted and tried everything. So my cousin Jimmy Diros in Sweden, he has a beautiful, beautiful fiance, and she is a magnificent chef, and she prepares all of the food for midsummer each year. So she does all the different sills. And they're very amazing. And she even does a sill cake, a cake with fish on brown brood, and it has radishes on top, and then it has are you familiar with that, Linda?
Yeah.
What is the actual name of that?
I think it's silltårta, perhaps.
Silltårta, yes.
Yeah.
So surprisingly, I mean, who knew that I would ever love fish cake? So it's something I really love. I love Skagen, but I also like it in the Skåne style. I hope I'm saying that right.
Yeah.
And that's actually on the brown bread that I prefer that it's on, as opposed to the white bread, the white flour bread. And so I guess that's something very Southern Swedish that I enjoy a lot. And her sill is, when she makes the summer sill and all that, it's just amazing. And she makes such a variety of it, and I enjoy it all. And I look forward to it. It's kind of hard to find that quality here in the U.S. I mean, if you really want it, you end up having to go to IKEA for it. So that, and when we know the quality on that's a little bit different, but it still, brings back the memories of being in Sweden and having midsummer with my family over there. So there's a lot of things that I've eaten over there. There was some, I had blood bread when I was on the show. And surprisingly, that was really delicious. It was something that it was a little out of my comfort zone. But I mean, generally, I'm pretty good about eating foods, and I love different ethnic foods. So I really, there was something heartwarming and right when I was eating and trying foods in Sweden. And I have to say that the care and everything that I see and experience in the restaurants in Sweden is just wonderful. It's so not going like to Applebee's here in the U.S. and it's the same food over and over and just kind of, you can get it in any city or whatever. I feel like when you go to Sweden, it's just everything is not processed. It's organic. It's natural. It's farm to table. It has just a marvelous flavor to everything. And I have to say, the Swedish strawberries are mind blowing. So I live here in California. Our strawberries are like humongous, but they have no flavor. And then you go to Sweden, and they're much smaller, but the flavor is like 10 times.
I mean, and very sweet.
Oh, so sweet.
Yeah.
I do have a funny story. I was at the grocery store in Sweden, and they were selling strawberries outside, and I was asked to pick up some strawberries. So I picked up a tray of strawberries, and I asked them, how much, and they were like, it's 5 krona, right? And I didn't realize it was 5 krona for each little basket.
Yeah.
For the whole tray, because living here in California, if you go to the countryside or even at the stores, you can get a whole big thing of strawberries for only like $5. So, and they were saying something to me in Swedish they didn't quite understand. And then when they realized I didn't speak Swedish, then they spoke in English and said, "Oh no, it's $5 per little container in the tray."
Yeah.
So, and then it was quite comical, and to see their expressions. Because I'm like, "Oh, here's my phone." I take the tray. Like, no. So that was really interesting and quite funny.
Yeah, we got Kvist. He's sending you a thank you for the T-shirt, Jason.
Oh, hey, son, Krister. Krister Ask is really amazing. He's a wonderful man, and he's really into genealogy and following the show. He has befriended me and quite a few other castmates and from my season and other seasons. And he's so wonderful because he is so giving, and he shares a lot of very interesting facts about tradition and culture in Sweden and history. And he's really enlightened me, and I'm sure quite a few other Swedes from the show. But not only that, but I've also seen him in a lot of Facebook groups that we have here in the U.S. and in Sweden that you can join, where Swedes and Americans get together and they interchange and share cultural and heritage information. So if anybody watching the show, if you just do some searches in Facebook, you'll find that there's quite a few wonderful groups that love to discuss history, Swedish history, facts, and cultural information, and share it with not only Americans, but people around the world. So I really highly suggest that you look into that. And there's quite a few heritage and genealogy sites as well that you can find on Facebook, which is really fantastic. So a lot of amazing people out there sharing and being so giving with this information. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and talking about food, was asked if you have tried spettekaka.
That, of course, is one. Hey, it's my cousin again, right?
Yes, it is.
Hi, Osa. Yes, one of my favorites. I first tried it in Sweden. The first summer that I went back, and Spedikokka is just amazing. Actually, I took some home with me from the United States when I came back, and in fact, it was after my first visit to Sweden, and I bought the biggest one you could find, and it pretty much didn't quite fit in the overhead, so I had it on my lap for the most of the time on the plane. And I was so excited about it and everything. I get back to Los Angeles and we had a heat wave of like 107. It was extremely hot. So my spidikakka kind of went from there and it just kept shrinking down until it was rock hard and I almost broke a tooth trying to eat it. But then I learned to dip it in my coffee and let it soak up and soften and or sometimes I put it in milk as well, which was fantastic. But that is one of the most delicious things I love about the region of Skåne. And I actually went to the southernmost part of Sweden, and I'm trying to remember how to say it. It's SMY.
Smygehuk.
Smygehuk. And we went there with my family. And we made a trip down there, which was really wonderful. And I had bought some when I was down there as well. But it's something that we have at Midsummer each year. And it's basically the world's largest meringue cookie, if you will. I mean, that's how I look at it. And I love meringues. So, but it has a very unique flavor because I believe they put some other perhaps spices or something in there that makes it genuinely unique from any other meringue that I've ever had. So it's sort of sweet and savory at the same time a little bit due to the spices, but I love it. It's fantastic. So Åsa, we're going to have to go and get some spidikakka when we meet up next summer when I come to Sweden. So the fact that they asked about spidikakka, that must mean that Åsa is also from Skåne as well.
Yeah, she is. She lives quite close to me, so we usually meet, but not during this time. So.
Oh wait, so you're friends with Åsa?
Yes, I am.
Oh my gosh! Wow, that's amazing. What a small world. So, well, see, now I'm kind of like really connected to you, Linda, too.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that's really amazing about Swedes is I've met family members and then I've met these wonderful people that have sort of become like family-like. You're just so close to, and it's amazing. So I've really widened my family up in Sweden, not only with actual family, but with lots of wonderful friends over there as well.
Yeah, and Uwe also have a question. Do you still have contact with others from the series from Allt för Sverige?
Yes. In fact, I shared the link earlier this morning over here, which is evening over there for you guys, with some of the prior castmates. And I wouldn't be surprised, Uwe, if you see some others from Allt för Sverige participating with Linda on this show. It's a wonderful format, and I think it's great that you're getting everybody fired up and excited about their family heritage. It's in genealogy. It's great. It's especially right now during the COVID-19, everybody has all this free time too, and I think there's a lot more people getting involved in it and participating and looking up and sharing their family genealogy with other family members.
Yeah, I really love the show, and every year I hope that this year will be the time when someone that's related to me will be on the show, but not yet, as far as I know. I haven't found any relationship to anyone yet. So, but
well, with
sure.
your last cousin, there's got to be another cousin out there for you in the U.S.
Yeah.
So, Linda, I'm gonna have you. Are you actively looking for family that may have left Sweden to come to Canada or U.S. or Australia or other parts?
Yes, I have been, and I actually found them. They are in a lot of them are in Minnesota, and it was quite funny because when I started doing genealogy, or all my life, I heard that we don't have any family that emigrated. And it just took me like a month to find the first one that emigrated to the US. And I finally found them in Minnesota, and I contacted them, and they had heard the same story. There are no relatives left in Sweden.
Wow.
But so when I first contacted them, they thought I was kind of doing trying to do a trick or something like that. They didn't believe me, but we kept in contact, and I sent them photos and everything, and then they invited me to the little place in Minnesota. And when we got there the first time, they said, well, she has to be a relative because otherwise she wouldn't have got all the way here. So. But now we had done the DNA as well, so we are definitely relatives.
That is so funny that you say that. Is, you know, after the first summer I went back to Sweden, my cousins are like, wow, I wonder if we're really, you know, related. So I had some my cousin Agneta Diros, she ended up getting her DNA, and we kind of everybody was like double checking. So over here in the US, and also the family that we found in Australia, you know, they did the DNA testing, and it's so interesting because your level of relations to one family member could be totally different than from another family member, and you could be more DNA match with one cousin, and then they have more DNA match with another one than you do. And sometimes you're like, the traces are so small, you're like, are we really related? But then they relate to your other cousins and you relate to them. And then you, even though it's a smaller percentage, I think it's just the roll of the dice on how much DNA you share with different parts of your family members.
Yeah, it is.
So one of my cousins calls it a triangulation. So the more family members that get tested for DNA, you can make those connections and try to figure it out. Because it's still not an exact, precise thing. Because sometimes, you know, like I had a cousin that just took their DNA test here in the US, and it says possible cousin, you know, first to second cousin, which I know she's my first cousin. So, and then when you go beyond that, then it spreads a little further, like third to sixth or something in your relation. So you need to keep that in mind. And even if you don't match a lot in DNA, the fact that you are matching for some segments means that you are related at some point. It just makes it a little harder to figure that out.
Yeah. So we have a comment here from Niklas. Change the rules of the show and keep all until the end and collect points instead. So all can experience all the days. What do you think of the kicking out after each episode? And I think it's sad because we feel so sorry for everyone that has to leave, and we feel like, oh, they all should get this family reunion. So, but I think that you know that it's a competition.
Yeah.
But how do you feel about it?
Well, I think if you take that part out, then it's no longer a competition show. And in fact, they tried that out in prior seasons and it just didn't work out. So with the element knowing that you are going home, and when you get sent home, really kind of amps up your emotions and your desire to fight, to stay on the show. And it really, you know, makes it a whole different experience, because I don't think some people would really take it as serious as it should be, you know, in a way. I mean, we're all there. We want to find our family, but it adds an element that I can't describe. And what it really does is it's like a pressure cooker on the castmates. And then when you take a group of people from different walks of life, different parts of the country, different experiences, at different levels of knowing their family and heritage and such, it really makes us bond, and we bond quickly. And it is truly very emotional when somebody has to go home. And, you know, I had a hard time kind of digesting it all. It wasn't until I reflected on it later that I see what they're doing. And the people that put this show together are remarkable. I mean, everybody behind the scenes, and there's so many people that really give it their all to make this a great experience, not only for the cast members being on the show, but those at home watching it. So what you're seeing is a true experience. There's nothing scripted. It's just the situations where they want us to experience, and they put us together. And that's the only thing that's put together. So I think like you can kind of see a running theme each season when they do the show. And the season that I was on, a lot of it had to do with the relationship between Denmark and Sweden and the history behind that. And I felt that was really neat. And they were still able to tie everybody in on that and share that history between Sweden and Denmark for all of us. And it was a really eye-opening experience. So I know where you're coming from, Nicholas. And it's because Swedes have such big hearts, and it's so hard to see people go. But it's part of the show. And the wonderful thing that you should know is we all get our family information after the show has aired in Sweden. So it's not like we're losing out. I mean, it's fantastic that we do have somebody who gets to meet their family on live television in Sweden. And that's like the ultimate prize that anybody could ever ask for. Let me tell you, anybody who gets to be on the show, you're a winner just for being on the show. So don't cry too much for us when you go home. But it's really it's amazing, and everybody really gives it their all, and it's a great experience, and it's nothing like I've ever experienced in my whole life, and I don't think I ever will. So it's yeah, it kind of bites. I think what I look at is not getting kicked off the show, but some of the experiences that you miss out when you do leave the show. That's the thing. But we get to watch it with you guys in Sweden the same time, and we get to experience it with you when we see our other cast members move on and forward in the show. So it's still a win-win situation for us who are castmates on there. So thank you for the question, Nicholas.
Yeah, it's so nice to hear you say that, because we really feel sad for the people that have to leave every episode. So great to hear you say that.
Well, I was really sad I didn't get to see Håkan Hellström, but that was that kind of bite. But we got to go up to the park and hear a little bit of the concert. But it's so funny is I can't remember how to say the park name in Swedish. But we were up above the stadium, and typically people go up there because you can hear the music flow up from the stadium in Gothenburg. But the wind was moving the opposite direction for some reason that day. It was a very warm day. So all of the noise was actually being pushed back out towards the harbor as opposed to coming inland. So that was kind of interesting. But you know what? There were so many wonderful people in Sweden that when they found out I couldn't go to see Håkan Hellström, they reached out and like, hey, I got tickets. Can you come and join? It's going to be this time in the summer. Can you be here? So it's quite marvelous to see how loving and caring all of the people are in Sweden who watch the show, and just so giving and stuff. And you really feel that. You really feel the passion and caring of Swedes are, and how they really appreciate to see Americans coming to Sweden and who are, truly interested in finding out about their heritage.
Yeah. And I just can add as well that Niklas, he went to school in Ystad, so.
Oh, okay. Wow. So so who knows? Nicholas, have you done your DNA testing? And if so, I'm on Ancestry and a couple other DNA sites. So let me know if we're related somehow.
Yeah. And you do your genealogy as well, right? You do genealogy, or? Yeah,
I'm on Ancestry, and I have pretty much the majority of my mom's side laid out, and then we're adding new family in Sweden. It's my father's side that I don't know anything about, and my last name, Blohm, from what I understand, means flower in the field, and it originated in Hamburg, Germany. But I was very blown away to see that it's a common name in throughout Scandinavia, in Sweden. Either with the H or without the H. I've seen the spelling there. And so I don't know anything on my father's side. And perhaps that's where the Norwegian side comes in. But I do know my last name originates in Germany. So I have German, Swedish, and Norwegian blood, and then of course little bits and pieces from Great Britain. So I have some English, Welsh, Scottish blood. So but it's very interesting. It's all kind of like ties into all this Viking blood I think I have. So it's all Northern European blood that I have. And it's really interesting. I found my Swedish side. I'm curious about my Norwegian side, and also my German and British side. So we'll see how that venture continues on.
Yeah.
But it's wonderful. So I have other pieces of the puzzles to bring together.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite tool that you use when you do your genealogy?
Yes, my cousin Morgan and my cousin Agneta and my cousin Marika. They're actually the ones that are pretty much doing all the work, and they share it with family members, so that's amazing. And I am not quite as active right now in my genealogy search. And you would think, well, COVID, you got a lot of time. But working from home right now, being on the computer all day, it's sort of hard to separate work life from home life. And pretty much when I sign off the computer, I'm kind of like done for the day. So I should really be getting into it again some more and researching it. It's just right now I'm kind of taking a little break, if you will.
Yeah.
And I think you have to do that, right, Linda? Do you do that as well? You
like
really put a lot into it, and then you just kind of have to step back and look at it again later.
Yeah. And I also help other people doing their genealogy. So I don't, when I have done that, I don't feel like logging on and doing my own research. So depending on what I'm working with. So
yeah, I mean you have a lot of resources in Sweden too, which is amazing. So you have the regional archives that you have. And we were kind of talking earlier about the archive in Lund.
Yes.
Which was amazing. And last summer I was invited to speak there, and which was a fantastic experience. One of my castmates, Erica Anderson, also participated, and she spoke. We spoke together, and it was amazing because at the archive they have a couple of groups that are involved. And it was due to that I actually found a cousin that came and attended at the archive. And then we got to meet a new cousin and her American husband.
Oh.
So it was really interesting. And we ended up getting together, and we went to Smoke Hus. What was it again? The southern part of Sweden.
Smygehuk.
Smygehuk. And then and we had some I forget what it was called. It was some kind of giant omelet with bacon in it and
Ostakaka.
Yes, eggs cake.
Äggkaka. Äggkaka. Yes.
So we had that, and we got to know her and everything, and that was fantastic. And it's like you show up to speak about your genealogy and ancestry, and then you meet another family member there. So it was really fantastic. So I mean, it was one thing that was really interesting about going there in Lund at the archive house was there were so many people there that are so passionate about genealogy, not only for themselves but helping other Swedes do research and not only find out about their family abroad that may have left, but about their own family history within Sweden. And looking into that further and finding cousins. So one thing that I think was very interesting is here in the United States, as your family grows and you've been here for a couple of generations, there's a disconnect that happens between you and your cousins and such. And if one family member is kind of like holding the family together and they pass away, the family starts to break apart a little bit. But then when you have somebody new that comes in and that's interested in bringing the family back together, and they do so, it's a wonderful, and I keep saying gift, and it is a gift to give to your family members and to reunite family members. It was, a lot of families have reunions here in the United States. Every summer they'll get together and do a family reunion. And I got to experience that on one of my grandmother's side, the Burns sides. and that's actually the Scottish side that I have. And this one year that I participated, we had like 500 down in Southern California and 600 or more up in Oregon that got together for a family reunion. And I have a family member who is a curator of that side of the family, and he created a page, and he will research and add family members in there. We share photos in there. So I really think it's something that each of you out there, if you're doing genealogy, why not have a family Facebook page where you can go and share your lineage and have everybody post family photos and identify the family members. And what we've done in our family group is every time we add somebody, we ask them to, okay, here's our main relative, show your lineage as you go down, and then put it on there. And what happens is we're all able to put that in our own family tree. And it's sort of a shortcut. It makes it easier. So we know how we're related on paper. One of the interesting things now is with DNA is to actually kind of true that up. Like you were talking about earlier, Linda, are we really related? And to actually verify that is interesting. But I think what it also opens up is you may have a lot of half brothers and sisters or aunts and uncles or grandparents. So not everybody is born in wedlock. And as I've seen in my own family, you may have more than one marriage at one time or another due to a spouse passing away or something of that nature. So share it all, get organized, have a forum and a place where you can share all that information. And a family chat room is really great too. That's a great way to share information with everybody and say hi, poke in every now and then, and we do that. There's some of the family members in our chat room may have left the chat room or kind of mute it, and then they'll go in and check on it when they feel like it. So, and due to the fact that when you start finding family members in different time zones, it could get a little irritating. You're in the middle of the night sleeping and you hear your phone pinging away that somebody just left the chat. So you can always do the chat and then go there and look on your own. So it's really a great way to keep connected once you found your family.
Yeah. So Anne-Louise asked, how many relatives do you have in Sweden? Do you know that?
Hi, Anne-Louise. Anne-Louise and I are friends on Facebook. And when I looked at my map, it said 571. Wow. That's not everybody is living because the tree goes so far back, and I think we're continually adding to that. But my DNA results on Ancestry, I think I'm up to 60,000 relatives through Ancestry DNA. But we're talking about a total of 4 grandparents. So when you do a DNA test, you can be overwhelmed, and it is overwhelming to try to figure out, how close are they? Are they living? Are they deceased? And it's not uncommon, I think, as you know, Linda, is when you do find some DNA matches, some of them may have passed already, and it's actually a child or another relative that's maintaining their DNA account. So, but I highly suggest, go visit your grandparents and swab them.
Yeah.
and get that information. So I have a DNA kit that I have preserved. I have it ready for my father. So when I go see my dad next, I'm gonna swab his cheek. We're somewhat estranged. So we don't really talk very much. So I kind of feel he owes me a little bit of his DNA on a swab. So I can continue research on that side of the family.
Yeah. So I also used to usually ask my guests if there is something that they want to share that most people don't know about them. Like there have been someone that went on a travel and catch malaria, and someone sings in a choir or plays some instruments.
Well, that is a really good question. The problem is as you can tell, I like to talk. So I don't have too many secrets. I So that's interesting. Let me think. Something they don't know about me. Wow. Well, everybody knows I love to eat and I love to travel, and that wow, I really can't. That kind of threw me for a loop there. Let me think about it a little bit. Maybe we can come back to that one.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know. Maybe somebody else can chime in, and if you know something that others don't know about me. Um, wow, that's pretty interesting. I don't know. I'm not quite sure because
Yes.
I do share. I'm an open book, and I share a lot with everybody. So I really can't think. I'm sorry about the little noises coming in. I'm using my work computer for this interview, so I have these emails constantly coming in. So I
Yeah.
apologize.
Yeah. So, have you learned Swedish? Do you speak Swedish, or because I know on the show you had to learn like hörru du.
Yeah. You know, I know a little bit. I love it. One of the things I love to do is when I can't sleep, I'll take my iPad. Okay, well, here's something people don't know about me, I guess, is I like, since I come from a big family, I love noise. I need to have background noise. I need to have music in the background or something. It kind of makes me feel secure. Um, so at night, if I have difficulty falling asleep, I'll take my iPad and I'll actually go to a Swedish lesson or find a Swedish movie, and I'll fall asleep listening to Swedish as a way to just kind of build up my ear for Swedish and how it's spoken and such. And so I do that at night. And I was really into learning about Swedish. I met this wonderful lady here in Los Angeles, and for like 3 to 4 months, I took a few lessons from her. We're actually going through a book and stuff. So I picked up quite a few words in there, but I'm not fluent in Swedish. So I need to really work on that. And it's really sad because, here it is 4 years ago that I was in Sweden, and I really haven't got into the language. And I think what it is it's very hard in Los Angeles to learn Swedish because it's hard to get togethers with others that are fluent in Swedish on a regular basis. So I know a lot of people that speak Swedish. It's just, it can be a little irritating when you're trying to speak Swedish to somebody who's fluent in Swedish in a conversation that it's just hard to follow along, and it kind of you don't want to drag people down with that and be burdensome. So I do need to work on that, and maybe I should reach out to somebody right now during COVID and see if somebody can do some lessons online for me. It's when you do the programs or you do like a Duolingo and all that, you can learn words that I'm just so bad at pronunciation when I'm repeating it back to the computer. Never likes my pronunciation. So I think I'm much better with somebody like a one-to-one situation or a classroom setting to learn Swedish. So I need to work on that. So jag talar lite svenska.
Yeah, ja, men det är bra. So, and the last question for you is actually a question that you will get to pass on to the next guest. I will take a couple of weeks off now. Been doing this for, I think, 15 weeks. So I will have a couple of weeks off. But for the next guest, what is your question?
Well, I guess, since I'm such a foodie guy, I love food. What is your favorite Swedish food, and do you know how to make it? So I think that's a really good question. Do you know how to make Swedish pancakes? Do you like kanelbullar? What is your favorite thing, and have you tried to make it? I do Swedish meatballs. That's probably one of the biggest Swedish things that I make. But other than that, I still want to learn. I tried to make the Swedish Lucia bun.
Yeah.
And I tried to, and I brought it to the lodge, and I shared it with them. It was a little hard. So the flavor, everybody said, was spot on. With the saffron, and then I took the raisins and I soaked them and everything. But it was just a little not so quite soft as it should have been.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so I need to practice on that. So I would be interested to know for your next guest, what is their favorite Swedish food, and do they make it or do they run out and buy it somewhere?
Yeah, great question. So I would like to thank everyone that's been watching today and that have commented and that have asked questions, and also a great, very much thank you to you, Jason, for joining me. It has been really nice talking to you, and we really missed the Allt för Sverige show this year. So
I know. I'm kind of crossing my fingers that maybe they'll do a recap of all the seasons this year. So you never know. They might have a little surprise for you guys this fall and winter. So you're not, I'm excited, and I hope that they do something like that for everybody. That would be a lot of fun. And I know that a lot of the people behind the scenes, they're very sad that they're not able to be a part of the show this year. And this would have been the 10th anniversary.
yes,
Allt för Sverige. So, and as you know, we have 10 year. We have quite a few cast members, and we kind of talk about it behind the scenes with all the other castmates. It'll be so fun to have a 10-year reunion with everybody. So, but the likelihood of getting all the castmates together in Sweden or even in the U.S., that would be a really hard thing to do, but it would also be a really fun thing to do.
it would.
It would. And so thank you, Linda, for putting this together and sharing this stuff. And I think that all of those fans from the show should really watch your series. It's very interesting, and I appreciate you doing it. So thank you for allowing me to be a part of it.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I will put on my grandfather who will sing for us. So have a nice evening, everyone, and a day for anyone in California. So take care.
Bye, Hedo. I hope to see you, Linda, in Sweden.
Yes, bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Hedo.
Gör det att skymningen bredar sitt flor när tankarnas vän? Vad gör det att solen går neder då den kommer i morgon igen?